started my column earlier. Leader Fan Radio Network. Fan Radio Network. Fan Radio Network. There we go. And KFAN.com. 1 minute and 47 seconds past 3 Central Standard Time. Welcome back to a Monday edition of the Bumper to Bumper program on a, feels almost balmy mid to late December afternoon here in the Twin Cities that we affectionately refer to as Minneapolis and St. Paul. My name is Dan Barreiro, the host of the program Guardsy produces, and we are delighted that you are along for today's ride that will include several distinguished and outstanding guests, including at the bottom of this hour, TJ Hockenson, Vikings tight end, is scheduled to join at 3:30. Another man who apparently is not afraid of the bumper-to-bumper Vikings player Hope.
Cashman had a hell of a game yesterday.
Hex, I should say.
I think he led us in tackles yesterday. I'm back to us. He led us in tackles.
The test will be whether he's still with them next year. The test with Hockenson will be whether he's with the club next year, I think.
That's true.
We'll see. Vikings talking points will be part of the equation today as well. There may be an A-section update, an injury update. News now, I think, official, according to the head coach. Jonathan Grenard's season has been he has been shut down. His season is over. Aggravated a shoulder issue, and so he's going to undergo, or maybe he already has undergone, surgery that will sideline him for the rest of the 2025/26 season. We play in 26? Is our last game in January? I can't remember. We wrap up in December.
It says TBD because that has to be settled. So I'm trying to figure out what it probably would be January.
It's got to be January. Yeah. You're right. There has to be at least one there.
Yep.
There's a lot of KFAN lore stories that have been told and retold and run into the ground over the years. One of my favorites was the Common Man rant. This was back in my Inkstein Wretch days. And occasionally, if a column broke late, I mean, the deal I had with the fan big shots was the newspaper has to come first or I'm dead. They're not going to let me do this, so you're going to have to live with the possibility that occasionally I'm not going to be able to get in on time. And I don't think they loved it, but I think at that point they were willing to accept it because I was relatively new to the radio, and they knew that at that point they didn't have as much power over me as the newspaper did. And on one of these occasions, and I think it may be that Chad was unavailable that day, so I was going to have to lead it, and so I was needed. Well, I wasn't going to get there in time, so the only other option at that point was Common was going to have to stay and go later. And so Common did the rant. We probably have it somewhere.
I can find it easily. Because wasn't it at the State Fair? I feel like it was because they were on location.
They were on location because it was Common with Jeff Dubay, as I recall it.
Yep.
And so Common went into the old rant about, I don't understand this. I got places to go, I had things to do. I wouldn't presume I wouldn't impose myself on someone this way. I would just start your column earlier. I don't know why.
That's what I do.
That's what I do. Exactly it. And at one point then he pretended like, well, is this mic on? Do we, like he was, although he said later that he knew all along. He just said that as part of the bit. Dubé can be heard in the background laughing a couple of times. And you may be wondering what the hell that has to do with today. It is, I think there's a direct line there because that whole mantra, I just started my column earlier. For me today, it applies to the Minnesota Vikings, who are getting a lot of praise and a lot of pats on the back and a lot of salutes that all is right with the world. Your guy, Alec Lewis, one of the tweets from him is, I don't know if I have it exact, but I believe if I paraphrase it, he basically said, if the Vikings had a 2-game stretch like this in the middle of the season, they would be the talk of the National Football League. And all I can think about is I just started my season earlier. Again, better to win than to lose. Better for J.J. McCarthy to show more progress, as he most assuredly did on an occasion where the Vikings did not have as good a running game as they did the week before. That's all to the good, but I'm sorry, I can only go so far. I'd say, well, this mini surge might have meant something much earlier in the season, but it didn't take place in the middle of the season. It took place after, at least last night, they were mathematically eliminated from the postseason. They beat one terrible team, Washington, here, that seemed utterly and completely disinterested. And then, to their credit, they beat a team that needed to win to keep their playoff hopes alive, and they did it on the road. But nevertheless, a team that we all talked about this 3 weeks ago is one of the worst defensive teams in football. So, congratulations on the 2-game winning streak. Congratulations on some progress being made at everything but getting the ball to Justin Jefferson. More on that later. But I just started it a little sooner before I'm going to now turn this into some kind of a coronation and a celebration. I mean, I get lauding the team for not tanking. We're not going to, people want us to tank. They didn't do it, and it's a credit to them. I agree. I'm not I like doing the tanking bit, but my heart's not in it. I don't really mean it. It's satiric. It's tongue in cheek. But I'm not putting up a commemorative print, especially because, as I said, this game, let's be honest about something. There was no pressure on the Vikings on Sunday Night Football other than the pressure of playing in front of a national audience. The heat was off. They could play free and easy. No longer anything at stake mathematically or any other way. So just like I should have started my column earlier, 20 years ago, whenever that was, I'd still say Vikings should have started their season a little earlier. The head coach should have figured out what he seems to be figuring out about his quarterback a little sooner. Mark Craig had another item about this in his 5 items, in which he believes even in this game, there's still more simplicity in what he's asking the quarterback to do and less concern about mechanics. Chris Collinsworth made a big point of that on one of those throws that, fundamentally it was not sound at all, but every once in a while, maybe you just at some point go, I don't want him overthinking. Let's just, if the ball can get there, let's just let the ball get to the right place. And he had a few that didn't, but he had a bunch that did. Check his shooting percentages. Well, in this case, I guess, pass completion percentages the last 2 weeks. They're off the charts compared to what they were before. So, I don't know. I mean, you're in celebratory mode maybe because McCarthy mansions look like they're going to start gaining in some value again.
Sure.
And I'm not going to look that gift horse in the mouth if I'm a Vikings fan, but this season wasn't supposed to be about consolation prizes and feeling really good about playing a good game in Dallas after you were mathematically eliminated. Sorry. Is that too negative for you?
It might be a little too negative for me. However, I am more wistful. It's the same concept as last week. The exact plan that they had last week and how JJ played last week and their approach with JJ last week.
Yes.
We were, at least I was. I think you were. We were saying for 3 months, like, that's what it should have been. You got to do. I've been to enough colleges to know you have to get the prerequisites out of the way. You can't skip ahead. There's classes that you can't register for, right?
Correct.
You have to take the prerequisites. And for whatever the reason, they decided that they didn't need to take all the prerequisites, and we saw what the results were. And now it seems like they are going back to freshman rhetoric, math 101, and they're letting him put some building blocks down. And he went on a couple of heaters last night. I was convinced after whatever drive it was that I think gave them the lead again, that after watching JJ throw that drive, I was convinced KOC was never going to run the ball ever again. Like that, the little 2-week respite of him.
Me too.
Establishing, because his guy was feeling it.
Yeah, you could tell.
You could tell.
That's all he needs.
That's right.
He doesn't need much urging.
No, he does not need any encouragement in that way. And his guy was absolutely feeling it. And he still threw a couple 150 miles an hour. I thought he was going to break JJ's hand on that one.
Yeah.
After the Hockenson play.
Yes, I agree. The one in the end zone?
No, there's a different one.
Different one.
Yeah, but it could have been either one of them. But JJ played well last night. And yeah, this is the consolation prize of the season now at this point. Is this is what you're left with. This is what you have to hold on to.
Correct.
But I do wish that we were talking, again, I said it on Enough Said on Friday. I do wish we were talking about this when it was 75 degrees and sunny, and not just because it's been miserable around here, but because it'd be September or even October. And you would feel like you have some more runway to build upon this and maybe see it go somewhere. But that's not how it worked out.
No, it most assuredly did not. And, well, we got good Vikings talking points that you put together that are positive. Don't worry, there's plenty of positivity in them. I just think there's limits, and I'm not sure I buy the premise that these two victories would represent some kind of a breakthrough in the regular season that the rest of the league would go, oh, the Vikings, look out. I mean, come on. We got to have. I'd like to think we would have a little bit higher standard than that. As I mentioned, your guy TJ Hockenson at the bottom of the hour. John Athletic on your red-hot Minnesota Timberwolves. How are we going to... We have to find time to follow up what we spent almost the entire Sunday sermons on, your favorite hockey team making news
seasonal
shortly
boost
after we got off the air, right?
Yes.
My first word of it was the text that you and I both got from Laval.
Yeah.
I knew nothing until then, and from that point forward, it's been nothing but state of hockey for all the important reasons. And then what do? We dominate the Bruins. Yesterday, all three of our local professional teams were victorious yesterday, right? The Wolves over Sac.
There were.
The Wild over the Bruins.
Both Gopher basketball teams won yesterday.
Did they?
It was, yeah, men and women.
That's
at
true,
the bar.
You're right.
There's a great picture of Crunch, Victor, and Nordy.
Is Lori Fisher in it?
No, she's not. She's probably taking the picture. But they basically said a picture 22 years in the making, the last time that those three organizations won a game on the same day.
Think Stockholm syndrome. The battered bride who makes her way back to what is normal to her, much to the chagrin of all who tried to save her. This is what they know. Is that what Stockholm syndrome is? I thought that was something very different. In any case, let's pause, stay on schedule, and chat with a member of the Vikings, as I said, at the bottom of the hour, and get into much more when we return. Odo Dead Guy will be part of the proceedings today, as one might expect. Stockholm Syndrome, when a person who was kidnapped starts to identify with their captors instead of their former beliefs. That's what I thought the term related to. I didn't understand that other analogy, but maybe I'm just not bright enough. That's very possible. We'll keep that in mind. Quinn Hughes is a member of the Minnesota Wild, and it's big. I can't tell you how impressive I think it is on the front end. It falls under the classification of, as we discussed in a lot of detail yesterday, but you weren't, of course, on yesterday, the belief in the big swing. And we've got a minimum of two presidents of their sport operation or their business or general manager, whatever title they go with, both winter sports teams. We've got two who believe in that mantra. One of them is a lot more out front than the other. Tim Conley is more behind the scenes guy. Comes on with us occasionally, but I don't think would care if he ever came on. In the case of, and I don't want to say that Billy Guerin is demanding all the time to come on, but I think he's more of an in-your-face guy. And
he's happy to join when asked.
He is, and he did join yesterday at the start of the program. If I'm a fan of that team, I might swallow hard about the price. And there are no guarantees in this deal, boys and girls. There's no guarantees it's going to lead them out of the first round this year, which it kind of needs to. There's no guarantee that he's going to re-sign here. I think there's a chance he will, but there's no guarantee at all. They've made that very clear. But if I'm a fan, as I said yesterday, little Danny Barreiro loved the idea that, well, they're going after something. The quote from Guerin yesterday was, you can bunt all your life, and there's nothing wrong with bunting, and sometimes you should bunt. But if that's all you do, what the hell are we up to? What are we doing? And that's the way I feel about it. If I'm a fan, I'm inspired. I'm aroused by this big swing and what it might represent, what I think it has a chance to represent on so many levels. It's what we, I think, demand of our general managers. It's what I think leads us to lose our minds, and we have teams who always seem to find a way to convince themselves to not do something, because you can always find a reason to bunt.
You can.
And at some point you're looking for, well, okay, let's do something that maybe is dangerous. There's risk to this. There was risk to the Wolves trading for Rudy Gobert. There was risk to the trade the Wolves made before last season, correct?
Sure. To trade up to get Rob Dillingham.
And even Dillingham, which, well,
that's a big swing.
That's a big swing that doesn't look so good right now.
So far, not good. But go
ahead.
Take your chances.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, leaving aside the potential seasonal boost, I think part of what this does is, look, the hockey community is very intense, and they're very committed. But I think this is the kind of move that speaks to the casual fan, where they're going, I don't even care about hockey, but I care about this story. I got a lot of that yesterday from people going, I'm not really that big of a hockey guy, but man, this feels big. And this isn't, a Herschel Walker trade. This kid's in the prime of his career. He's 26 years old. And he is obviously one of the best players in the National Hockey League. Most of the experts consider him the second best defenseman in this league. So I assume you had I assume you had pretty much the same reaction, but I like the bigness of it. I like the boldness of it. And as he said also yesterday, Guerin, look, everybody in the summer they wanted us to do something big, and it didn't present itself. So it wasn't I didn't want to do something big, but it's got to present itself in such a way that it's worth doing. And he even admitted yesterday he wasn't really doing that much exploring about Hughes. It took one of his subordinates calling him to say,
that was interesting.
Make a phone call. There might be something going on there. And guess what? He did follow up, and the rest is history. I also found it interesting that he decided not to wait on, okay, we're going to do the negotiating game. I'm going to make our best offer from the beginning because I want to get their attention. I don't want to mess with them. Now, some people have said, well, you could, but why not work up to it depending on what if they had said yes without Bouillon being in the deal? That seems unlikely, but his position was, I'm not going to jack around on this deal. I'm going to show them we're serious from the beginning because I want to get the deal done. Anyway.
Exhilarating.
Yeah.
It has to be exhilarating. If you're in that locker room, which obviously you can see it, just the reaction that the guys have had to having him here. If you're a fan, just think about, first of all, they were also playing well, too. So you're not even like shaking up a team.
That's true, too.
That had been scuffling. If this was 2 months ago, there still would have been obviously a big level of excitement. But the fact that they've been playing so well, and we're coming off beating Dallas on Thursday night here in a great game, that then you throw this into the mix, it's the best time to be a sports fan when your team takes a big shot and a big swing. And we've been, I guess, fortunate, whatever it is, the last handful of years with a couple of these teams that said, we're not messing around. We're going for it.
Well, this is the biggest name.
Easily.
This is the biggest name, right? I mean,
it's the biggest trade in the history of the franchise.
I don't think, and I even think if you broaden it out to other sports, in terms of his production, talent, age, etc. I don't think there's been a bigger swing, quite frankly. All right, let's stay on schedule because we expect a phone call from the Vikings tight end, TJ Hockenson. Vikings talking points yet to come, Johnny Athletic, and so much more.
J.J. McCarthy's out of the shotgun. C.J. Ham in the backfield. Pass over the middle. Caught! T.J. Hockenson between the hash marks on the run at the 50. Gets to the 45 of the Dallas Cowboys, and he stopped at the 44-yard line. It is Hockenson for 29 and a first down.
Good call from PA yesterday or last night in Dallas, Texas, involving our next guest. Vikings tight end T.J. Hockenson is kind enough to join us, and we appreciate the time, sir. There's been a lot of talk around town the last week or two about something called pure progression as it pertains to the way the quarterback should go about his business, or the way the Vikings want their quarterbacks to go about their business in terms of going from one possibility to another on a play. Somebody said to me that pass and catch was not pure progression, that had more to do with the quarterback reading the play. When you're a tight end, are you allowed to get in all this stuff? Does this pure progression stuff fascinate you, or are you kind of bored with it?
Well, first off, I appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, JJ's obviously he's a young quarterback, and he's been navigating this season. But the pure progression stuff, all the things that we do, that's part of football.
Yeah.
And that play that you just ran on the seam route, it's cover two. Mike opens up to Justin. He kind of looks him off, and then throws it backside to me running down the opposite seam. So, JJ and threw a fantastic ball right over the linebacker and into some coverage. So, the amount of growth with JJ's throws and the things that he's been able to do. We have a lot of confidence in the locker room with him, and it's been a lot of fun to be able to play with him so far.
I get the sense that part of the objective the last couple of weeks has been, let's just go out and not make you think about quite as much, even though quarterbacks to grow have to think, right? It's a thinking man's position, but that it's been more, let's simplify a little, let's get the ball out of your hands when we can, and we're not going to necessarily always worry about perfect form. Let's just see if you can go out and fling it a little bit. Do you think that has been part of the reason for the success the last couple of weeks?
I think, any kind of player, when they're able to play fast and they're able to, really just play their game, they're always going to play at their best and the best of their ability. And I think, that's really what JJ's been able to do the last few weeks is just, not worry about anything else, not worry about the noise, not worry about what's going on around us, and just focus on each play, each game, each day. And he's been balling, the last couple of weeks, and it's been fun to just watch him be able to, grow into himself and his, what he shows every day in the practice field, and just be able to carry that into Sunday.
You've played with and worked with some pretty damn good quarterbacks, obviously, and your own resume speaks for itself. So, when outsiders talk about trust, developing trust between a quarterback and a specific receiver, what is that? How does that play out? How does that happen over a period of time? And is it an important part of whatever on-field relationship is going to exist between a wide receiver and a QB, a tight end and a QB, et cetera?
Yeah, 100%. I think, that's what we're all trying to do at the receiver position is just gain the trust of our quarterback. That's it takes time. It takes some, obviously just personal, hanging out, whatever it is. And then, on the field, just having him trust that you're going to go make a play. You talk about trust, the corner route that we had yesterday where he just kind of flung it up there. Mm-hmm. And, it was like, okay, change angles and go make a play for him. And that's the kind of stuff that you want him to be able to feel as a receiver is hey, the worst thing that can happen is an incompletion. And, that's really what we're all striving for. And JJ and I, we hang out a lot. We work, on the field together a lot. And so it's just, continuing to build that repertoire, continuing to build that trust. And that's with all the guys on the field. So, you're starting to see it come out on Sunday a little more for sure.
TJ Hockenson, Vikings tight end, kind enough to join us. Johnny Athletic coming up in a little bit. You guys knew or learned before the game that you'd been mathematically eliminated from the postseason. It was already probably trending that way, but then it became official. Certainly didn't seem anything on the way you guys played that indicated heads were hanging or moping. Is that easier said than done? I get it. You're pros. You're paid to play, but you're in it, obviously, to get in the postseason. So what's that like for you individually? What do you think it was like for the team collectively last night?
You can't worry about other things outside of what we have going on in this building, what we have going on in this locker room, and at the end of the day, every year is different, every team is different, and so you just play for the guys next to you, and so that's what we've built in this locker room is just a culture that there's no give up, there's no hanging our hats. It's all about loving each other in the locker room, being as close as a close-knit unit throughout that locker room, and we're not worried about whether it's the postseason or the next game or whatever it is. We're just trying to go out there when we get an opportunity in between the white lines and go play for not only our locker room, not only our coaching staff and the entire organization, but our fans. We had a lot of Vikings fans down in Dallas, and we all love playing for them. They spend money, their own money, to come watch us play, and we're going to try to put every single ounce of our being into that game on that day.
The news breaks yesterday that a couple heavyweight names, Micah Parsons and, of course, Patrick Mahomes, end up with ACL injuries to end their seasons. You know how that feels. Was it December? I want to say it might have been Christmas Eve. Was it 2023? And I'm curious to know what's your best advice to players? I know it's not, it happens. These aren't the first ACLs, and people generally, like you have shown, are able to come back for them. But what if one of them called you to say, okay, give me some tips on the best way to try to approach this? What did you learn from your own experience there?
It's really a process of not only the physical but the mental.
Mm-hmm.
The mental toll that the NFL season, 17 games, puts on you, and then to have to really turn around and it's a new 9-month journey that you have in front of you is it can be a mental toll. And so I think the biggest thing that I did and I was able to do was just attack the process of the first really 2-3 months are the biggest things where you're getting the range of motion. You're building a foundation and you want that to be a solid foundation. And so, and then the rest kind of goes from there. So I think, the first really few months are big, and then, obviously getting back into football and those things. But after about a few months, you're really just training. You're really trying to get back for an NFL season, and that is what it is. But I think, that's the challenge, is the mental part of it, going from 15 games that they've played already this year to then a solid 9-month journey ahead of them is it can be a grind, but you just got to stay in it.
Is it hard not to mope early and to wallow a little bit?
You never want injuries to happen. You never want injuries. It's part of the game, unfortunately. And, it's tough. It really is. It's a hard feeling, and you got to get over that first part of it. But, once the surgery happens and you're able to start your rehab, that's when things, you're pushing forward at the end of the day. Now you're good and everything is healed, and now it's just moving forward to the next year. So
I enjoyed the conversation. I appreciate you giving us some time, and good luck next week as well. Thanks, TJ.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Dan.
TJ Hockenson, Vikings tight end, kind enough to join us this afternoon. If we'd had more time, maybe we'll get him again. Who knows? Maybe we'll be lucky. I'm not sure I've ever talked to him about his Iowa, career and thoughts maybe about his head coach.
It was pretty good.
It was awfully good.
Yeah.
And Ferentz is coming back, right? It's official.
He is.
He's coming back again. And maybe getting to some other things like, I don't know, maybe do you know who he rooted for growing up? That's another thing I'd like to ask him next time.
I don't know if I do know.
We're on a tight schedule. So let's do this. We'll pause to stay on that tight schedule. Clock management, very, very important. Johnny Athletic. And Johnny promises us that he's hoping we spend most of the time talking about the Minnesota Wild, the big Minnesota Wild trade. He's almost not just encouraging, he's demanding it. So we may get his view on that. And who knows, we cover a little Vikings and a little Minnesota Timberwolves as well. Ben Lieber will join about an hour from now. Vikings talking points and Ode to a Dead Guy as well before we wrap things up.